Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Billboard. My name is Greg Wise. I am founder and CCO here at OneScreen.ai. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Charlie Riley, who runs all of our marketing here at OneScreen. And we have a very special guest today, very excited, Mike Gunderson, who is founder of a couple of different companies, but one of which is Gundir, the award-winning direct marketing agency. And he is also founder of PostReminder. And he's going to get into what both of those are. But Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you. You and I connected on LinkedIn because I would think I was a guest on someone else's podcast. And because I'm really famous and go viral, you said, let's talk to that guy. We connected, talked all things offline because what we do is offline, billboards.
Part of the tribe, man. You're part of the tribe.
And it's good to connect with fellow offline people.
100%.
We'll call each other that. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about what you do on the Gundir side of things?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I started in direct mail, almost 24 years ago for a large credit card issuer. I just absolutely fell in love with it. I'm a designer by trade, but the idea of doing direct mail, doing testing, and changing a color, changing a call to action, changing a format, and having huge implications on response was just awesome. It's fascinating. And so once I was done with that stint, I started Gunderson Direct, which was really a consulting company for the first 10 years, really working with large brands to figure out how do we optimize their creative and get more response. And then, then we just started growing. I started EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, became a member there, and then really figured out how to scale my company. And so from there, we've been trekking along. We're about 30 folks now. We work with some of the largest brands in the United States. We bring a lot of new startups and fintechs to direct mail for the first time. So we're excited about that. And now we are officially called Gundir, which is really a mashup between Gunderson Direct, really squeezing those names. We're all about efficiency. So squeezing those names. And now, so we are Gundir now. We've been Gundir for the last year and a half. Really love the new rebrand and are continuing to grow the company and bring direct mail to some of the most popular brands you've seen. So it's been a really great road.
It's awesome, Mike. Congrats on everything. Direct mail and out of home a lot of times go hand in hand and they make one another more powerful. But at the same time, direct mail and out of home are also some legacy tactics or mediums, if you will, out of home, since going back to hieroglyphics. But even direct mail, right? We went through that period and you were doing it during this period where there was a lot of sort of resistance to direct mail or a billboard because it was old school and didn't provide immediate return necessarily and wasn't digital. What are you seeing though as a sort of shift back to some of these methods, if you will?
I think a lot of times when we're working with new startups here in Silicon Valley, they've kind of hit the ceiling. They haven't really figured out a good way to expand or really grow their programs through digital channels without the additional cost. And so they're starting to look for new ways to reach customers. We do a lot of stuff in the B2B space. We do a lot of stuff in the consumer as well. But one of the beautiful things about direct mail is I can actually target the person that is the optimal customer for you. So if you're doing a credit product, if you're fintech, if you're B2B, I can target the customers that are most likely going to be interested in your products and services when you have no awareness out there. Especially now as new businesses are coming online, they're doing very innovative things. Here's the problem. Nobody knows what to search for when it's innovative, right? It's brand new. So instead of you trying to search and connect with that company, we're allowing those companies to connect with those ideal customers through direct mail, through targeting. And that in itself starts to lend itself to a much higher conversion rate for that marketing channel.
Like, I love it, having worked for an ad agency that started in direct mail. So that mail moment that, is like, for what we talk about with marketers, that you can't turn out of home ads off. It's the same thing, that mail moment, that even like a postcard campaign, I remember learning this, even if someone throws that out or recycles it, like a postcard gives you a chance to tell a story quickly. It's the same thing as like a billboard, like you have a few seconds, but they have it in their hand, they see the brand, it's repeated. Like, I love how you thought about this. And there's a lot of similarities to what we do, helping people understand that you can target billboards to the right audience, very similar to you guys have a lot of targeting elements there. How have you seen the adoption with startups? Like maybe those brands that you maybe wouldn't consider doing non-traditional or non-digital channels, like get them to nod their head when you're talking about adding another channel to the mix.
I think you made a really good point there. When we're targeting those folks with a direct mailer, whether it's a postcard, self-mailer, it could be a letter package, they have to interact with it. They're physically going out to their mail, they're grabbing it, they're sorting it, and they have to do something with it, even throw it in the trash. They have to interact with it no matter what. So there's a brand for the byproduct direct mail. I always say there's a really great byproduct, which is brand awareness, right? So even if I'm not interested right now, I might be interested later, and I'm building that brand awareness, right? And I may not see it or respond to it the first time, but maybe I'll respond to it the second time, the third time. So that's a really important component of that physical aspect of the mail. And then, as for folks that are coming in and brands coming in and their consideration process, it's like, what a great concept, right? You're telling me that you can actually send this direct mail piece to a business with 50 or more employees with X amount of revenue within this geolocation that's doing this industry specific thing, and my product perfectly suits them and there's no solution for it right now. That's a marriage made in heaven, right? That's perfect connection for that brand. And so a lot of them will start to come into direct mail and they'll even say, is it going to work? Or I'm not sure, it's expensive. There's a little bit of investment because we're printing, right? It's a manufacturing process. Is it going to be worth it for my company to do this? But what we found, if we're smart about it and we know that they're a company that can target well and deliver a great product, they will typically scale very quickly after that first or second pilot campaign to basically start to make that one of their main marketing channels to start to get new business from. And that's really exciting. So when we brought Square into the mail, or we brought SoFi into the mail, these folks did not really do a lot of mail at the time. And then once they saw that traction, they're like, oh, wait a second, we're going to get way better underwriting if we actually start to target a customer that aligns well with our product. And we're not going to be basically offering a bunch of junk mail to folks because we pre-targeted them. We have better targeting overall, that we're able to make sure that when they connect with our product, they're going to get approved or they're going to have some relevance back to that direct mail. That's a huge bonus for these brands. And they'll typically start to scale those programs very quickly as soon as they see that ROI is coming back. It's the biggest hurdle for us is that investment piece. It's us going to these brands and saying to them, like, look, you can't do 5,000 pieces of mail. I wish you could, but you're not going to really learn anything. You're not really going to get anything out of it. You really need to be in a 50, 75, 150, maybe even 500,000 pieces of mail in order to make this channel effective. And so it's really trying to get them to get that concept of saying, it's not about impressions like digital, where you're eventually going to pay that. It's just going to be over time. You're going to see instant reaction to that response. We're saying you got to put all this money up again, and you're probably not going to see any return until after the mail's printed, until it gets home delivered, until that person actually starts to transact with that mail. And so they're looking at responses maybe 2, maybe even 3 months down. Yeah. We can make that final decision of saying, let's go ahead and scale this program. That's the biggest hurdle, is the time. And unfortunately, there's not much we can do to increase the performance timeline of direct mail, other than maybe starting to force them to use more digital tactics like QR codes, something that gives us an instant response once the mail is in market.
There's so many great points there, and there's so much alignment to what we do in the kinds of questions or reservations that we'll get from people where without a phone, same thing. The physical world marketing is different. It is different. There's a reach and frequency component to it. It is not instant, QR code or no QR code. It takes time. For us, we say the same thing. One billboard in the middle of New York City or Manhattan is not going to do much based on, or not going to move the needle, not going to make much business impact. And sometimes that means either focusing on a different market or investing more to get those learnings, right? To do it properly. And then it's not going to be put your billboard up and then refresh a dashboard tomorrow. This is at least 4 to 6 weeks so you can get that reach, so you can build that frequency. And that's where you start to see the return. And it's interesting because I think these marketers quite frankly, especially at high growth tech startups or emerging D2C brands, they are the digitally native performance marketers where they can set a budget, throw it into Meta or another digital channel and say, I'm going to spend this amount here and I'm going to get this on the back end. Now all of that's like flipped upside down. They're like, that math no longer works. What else do I do? The real world is now an option for them. And it's like, how the hell do I figure this out?
Right.
So it's like two things that I feel like we're helping people to do, you and us. One, the physical world is better. It's here to stay. It's forever. And it's actually what people want. It's been around forever and it's going to continue to be around forever. Number two, it's how to do it in a smart, modern way. We just talked about being targeted. Same thing with us. It is not, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, your grandmother's direct mail anymore or your grandmother's out of home anymore.
It can still
be, but there's so much audience data. There's technology. Like we're trying to modernize an archaic space. You're modernizing a space that's been around forever that a lot of people think maybe that it can't be that targeted.
Right. Well, the targeting is amazing because we're utilizing address-based targeting. And then within that same exact address-based targeting, we're using co-op lists or we're using modeling and we're getting that target market right where we need it to be. So the words junk mail don't exist because you may not be interested at this moment in time, but it is relevant to you. At least the stuff that we send out to our customer, it is relevant. We work very hard to make sure that this product is going to match this profile and you should hopefully be interested in this. And what's amazing about that is once we have that audience list built, then we can also serve meta ads. We can also serve emails. We can also serve connected TV. So there's a lot of aspects that go all the way down to that address-based data, that one person, that one consumer. And not only are we touching them with the direct mail, which is the most effective, but then we're following up with other digital tactics to that actual address. And that's pretty powerful.
I think that aligns with what we share with a lot of clients is that we would never suggest or assume that someone's going to replace their whole digital budget with an out-of-home buy. It's a complement. And I think if anyone walks away, if a marketer walks away with something to learn from this is there are opportunities to test real world marketing channels that have been proven and have worked that should complement what you're doing digitally. It shouldn't maybe 100% replace that, but you should always be looking for new vehicles. And I think the planning and the execution are very similar to what we do. I think using planning to help someone for B2B brands, for example, a lot of marketers don't realize out of home can be part of an ABM play. We can use a lot of the same data points you're probably using to figure out traffic patterns of where maybe executives are driving. It's not just guessing. We could put billboards in the right place, but you also want to use experts to understand how to execute that. Like for someone could buy their own billboard if they really wanted to, but they're going to have limited inventory and it's going to take a lot of time. It's probably very similar to for working with your team. Someone could run their own mailing program if they really wanted to, probably. It would take them probably 5 times as long, but do they understand an envelope size and what postage might be? And it would, instead of getting that kick back, for example, like the logistical expertise that your team brings is probably like, it's fascinating. It's interesting to hear you talk about the precision that your team brings, but also the planning and the execution that I think a lot of brands should consider. And it goes back to that idea of how do you put an experiment in place so that, like you said, that second, third, fourth campaign, very similar to someone testing at home for the first time, you prove the proof of concept, and then it's, okay, this works. This is a great channel that will continue to add into play.
What's interesting is going back to the digital first, our target customer for Gundir is now, a 24 to 35-year-old marketing manager that when mail is even brought to them, what'd you say? Mail, what are you talking about? And it's getting over that hurdle. Like, no, it works and it's relevant. And I always say, like, if you want to just dip your toe in mail, like just try it out, connect it directly to your digital campaign and do a retargeting direct mail postcard to somebody who exits on a certain part of your site, basically just sends them off a postcard one at a time, right? Small budgets, and see if anybody transacts off that postcard after leaving your site or abandoning your cart. Like, it's an amazing ROI because you could set up a budget of anywhere between $1,000 and $5,000 and be able to just trigger postcards off of anybody leaving your site. And you're going to capture them back because of that affinity. They'll remember, oh yeah, I was on that site. Okay, I got this postcard. It's building awareness, it's building brand, and it's getting them back to your site to transact. That's a really great way to dip your toe in direct mail that you don't need a full agency for. There's plenty of companies that just offer that service. Put a cookie on your website and try to think of it as retargeting display ads, but it's just simply sending off a postcard, a self-mailer, or a letter to that prospect. It could be really effective.
How do they know, on that note, how do they get an address?
There's amazing technology out there. They can quite simply append an IP address to an address. They have very sophisticated modeling that allows them to figure out where that click came from, and they're able to match that up to an address. So there's a lot of really great technology out there allowing for that. And then what's cool is if you're able to then get that re-triggered postcard, now you've collected an address, and now you can start to build a prospect list from it as well. The other thing is, so many people rely on email for customer marketing, which I agree, it's amazing. There's affinity built in. I know this company, so I'm going to look at their emails sometimes, right? But the problem is you're going to be sending a lot of emails. What brand doesn't send maybe too many emails on every product or service that they offer? So I always say, just give it a shot. Take that whole email address, append it to address data, and send out a postcard to that customer base and see if you get a bump in response. Almost always you do, because not everybody wants to transact with email all the time. And AI is getting so good that it's basically taking any sales email that you have in your Google inbox and basically putting it in a promotions folder, and maybe you'll get to it. I don't know how many emails you get every day, but I get a ton of unwanted emails every day. It's too many. I can't even act on them because I got the rest of my data planned. So direct mail is a really great replacement or addition to that email marketing tactic that you're using currently.
That is a key point. It's not necessarily a replacement, right? It's in conjunction with, I always talk about this. It's a this and this, not a this or this.
Yeah, I like that.
We're out of hand. We are not trying to take, Charlie says this, from one channel, completely put it into this. These channels all work together. And I think, for me, I think that we're seeing that shift to a more holistic marketing mix going forward, but it takes time, it takes education.
Yeah, it makes response and attribution a little tricky, but we are seeing some of our customers kind of doing more of a mix. You know, they're saying, look, we know that maybe direct mail was last touch, but we can't necessarily say that was the sole reason somebody responded. So even though the marketing channel might be more expensive, and through a matchback process, we could prove who responded to the mail pretty easily and pretty accurately, we still have to say that maybe digital also helped. Maybe DRTV also helped a little bit. Everybody gets a little bit of our...
You know, the attribution thing is going to be a topic that none of us will ever solve in our lifetime. It's going to be that topic of conversation, topic of dispute, no matter what, with marketers. But it's pretty simple. If you're doing direct mail or if you're doing out of home and you didn't do it before, did you see a lift in sales?
That's it.
And sometimes it's that simple. And there's other basic ways to measure it. And then there's other sophisticated ways to measure it. So I love it.
I was looking on your guys' site and I was so amazed because, you know, you said something, Charlie, that was interesting. You know, you're hiring experts to do all this. Yes. Can I go get a billboard? Maybe. Honestly, I don't even know if I can do that. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start with that. I said, go online, maybe go to Outfront or one of these guys. But when I go to, like what you guys are offering, the vast amount of out of home that's available to businesses, and then the way you guys do it, it's brilliant. And so that allows really anybody to start to interact into that space and say, okay, I could, as easy as I can go set up a social media ad, I can buy billboards and buy screen time, or you guys have all kinds of really cool out of home stuff. That's pretty amazing. And I don't know, we haven't really bought a lot of out of home for our customers, but I have given your theme to a lot of people so far. The idea of being able to say, I can go see inventory very quickly, and now you've made it easy to do that. I think that's pretty amazing.
There's similarities there. Someone may want to do a direct mail campaign. They would probably start with, I don't know where to start with this. Similar for us. I think the education part that Greg talked about before it really comes down to helping them understand the options that they have. Like you said, oh, I didn't know you could do sandcastle that with a brand on it. You could do a street team. You could do transit ads, like all the different, oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's why we named this podcast Beyond the Billboard. There's a lot of options there. But the time savings around going to all those individual vendors and negotiating the best rates and making sure that the ads actually showed up there and getting pictures of those, that's the real savings for our marketers. You have the vision, you have the plan or the strategy. We build it for you. We execute it for you. We help you measure it and tie it back to your results. That's what someone's buying from working with someone like us for out of home, working with you for direct mail. So I think that expertise is really, what has to do so much right now, that if you can hand off certain things like that and know it's going to work, or have a good sense of how I can see how we're going to learn from it, I think that's where they see value with working with experts.
Yeah, it's amazing, by the way. Like, I dare you as a Walker buyer, right? Not for work, and the sandcastle. Everybody.
Out of home is just on that note. Out of home is wild. One of the things we found out quickly is what gets classified as out of home, and sandcastles, no joke, was one of those formats that we uncovered quickly. And then it was like, when we first started, it was like every week after that, we learned about new inventory that was so outrageous, not really outrageous, some experiential. And we're like, hold on, this is out of home too. This is out of home too.
That's
like
great.
Skyburn is out of home. It is. And that's, why we built OneScreen.
I go real quick. I go to the Ohana Festival down at Dana Point every year. It's Eddie Vedder puts together this festival. And every year they have that's kind of a sponsored sandcastle signage kind of display, and everybody's taking their pictures in front of it. And it's amazing. People want to see that stuff. It's unique. It's interesting. And yeah, talk about brand awareness. If you're sponsoring that, you're on point.
100%. And look, this has been such an awesome conversation. Three of us, but Charlie and I are fans of the real world. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about billboards. Something physical and tangible to hold and to send with direct mail. It's different and it stands out. And that's how you break through the noise today. Mike, where can people find you?
Yeah. So if you're interested in learning more about direct mail, or if you just we have a free book. It's our 2025 direct mail lookbook. It's got a bunch of direct mail examples, formats, best tactics, and best practices. You can visit Gundir, Gundir.com. Just click on our little free book tab and we'll send that to you. It's a physical book that you can go through and you can actually look at. And then if you want to learn more about our services, obviously our website is Expanse. And then for PostReminder, if you're in the out-of-home world and you're using a QR code, if you're doing out-of-home, you can walk up to it and scan a QR code on a poster or on a transit ad, or if you're doing direct mail, check out PostReminder.com. PostReminder is very cool because we're all busy, we're all in a hurry. And if I see a really great ad for a concert coming up in 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, I can now scan a QR code, set a reminder, and I'll receive that reminder when tickets go on sale as soon as they go on sale. So you're providing that awareness at the first touch, and then we're providing that response when it's more convenient for them to respond. So check out PostReminder. That's also new technology that we put together, and we're real excited about the progress of that company.
Love it. Mike, it's been a pleasure. Great conversation. Congrats on the business. And for the folks out there listening, out of home and direct mail, make it part of your playbook now, because if you're not, your competitors are, and it's the way of the future. Thanks for joining on this episode of Beyond the Billboard. And until the next time, Charlie and I will see you out there, and appreciate you tuning in.
Great. Thanks, guys.